The foundational piece of the teacher work sample is the contextual factors section. It is the first section that you will write. It's also the first thing that you'll be interested in and one of the primary pieces of information that you will build your entire practice on for this process. In live text, what you see is this. And by the way, there is a tutorial that shows you live text and how to use live text to do the teacher work sample. So when you hear live text, that's a piece of software that we use. That's a web-based service that we use to collect these and to grade them. So I will not talk about live text or the internet until we get to that point, to the tutorial on that. Okay, enough of that. Contextual factors. The instruction is, this is a general purpose of the section. When you see the task for each of these sections, all 7 of the sections that were mentioned in the introduction, you will see that there is a task which specifically says what you are supposed to do, or tells you in general the purpose of the section and why you're doing that. If for this case you're discussing relevant factors and how they may affect the teaching and learning process, and you will be including any supports and challenges that affect instruction and student learning. The prompt is actually the piece that you're going to be most interested in, because as you're working on each section of the teacher work sample, the prompt will guide you to precisely what it is that you are supposed to be picking out. In this one, and more will be said about the structure of this in a little bit, but in this section, the contextual factors, the first thing that you look at is the community where the school exists. Then you look at district and school factors, overall school factors. And those, if you look at the white lettering just by community, district, and school factors, you'll see geographic location and school population, socioeconomic, and ethnic profile, or race and ethnic profile. There are also some things that are implied in that. For instance, if you are in a predominantly tourist area, if your school exists in a predominantly tourist area, that is likely to have some kind of an impact on the kind of folks that you find in your classroom. If, on the other hand, you are in a migrant farming area, you may also find differences that would impact your classroom. So you will want to look at all of the options, or all of the factors that surround the community, the district, the school where you'll be doing your teacher work sample, and be aware of some of the issues that maybe they're not specifically named in the prompt, but they might be powerful as far as their implications to the students and your learning environment and such. And that's the case for all of these. In all cases, use your common sense. Classroom factors, for instance, that's pretty simple. You take a few pictures and look around the classroom, and you can see what the features are. Perhaps you have Promethean boards or Interwrite pads, or maybe you have tables instead of desks, whatever that kind of, whatever you do with that. You might also discuss some of the rules, the routines. These are classroom factors. There are school-wide rules, but those are school factors. So those would be in the section above. And then if scheduling and classroom arrangement are things that you feel are important to mention, go ahead. All of these things that you see listed on this page, and I will not read them all because I don't want to insult your intelligence, but all of these things are possible. They're possible sources of differences or environmental factors that could create some kind of an impact on your instruction or your assessment or student learning. And the idea is that for this section, you're going to take all of this and you're going to analyze it fairly deeply. Now, this is not a 10-page paper. You can see in the paper that you can download for this that this whole thing is only supposed to be a couple of pages. So we start with the community, district, and school factors. Then we get to the classroom, then the student characteristics, that's the individuals. And then we come out with, okay, now that you've identified all of that, what does it mean? So you can't just say, well, I think these will have an impact. The question in the instructional implications section really that you're trying to answer is, what will be the impact? How will that impact you or the students? In each case, you will find that there is a rubric, and I'm not going to mention this all the time. You'll see a slide similar to this in several of these presentations, but the idea is there is not met and developing, and then there's met, and that's target. That's the one that is target is really what you're shooting for. So if the question is, how deeply do I need to go into this, or how much specificity are you looking for? This one says the teacher provides specific implications and for instruction and assessment based on student individual differences and community, school, and classroom characteristics. So essentially, if you find the factors that surround the classroom and you are analytical about how those are going to affect your classroom, your instruction, you will have done your job. One way to organize the contextual factors, and this is just for you to look at, this is not a way that I'm recommending that you report them. This is more for you to look at, is to sort of make a table where you're saying what the area is, the contextual area, and then what the factors are within that area, what the specific pieces of information are that you have collected them, and to the extent that it matters to you or it makes a difference, you can keep track of the date that you collected this information. Generally speaking, that's not going to make a huge difference. And this, by the way, if you look at the bottom, it is not complete. There's an incomplete sentence down there. This particular page is the first page. The idea is simply to show you a way that you can go about collecting the information and sort of keeping track of it. When you write this down, this is going to be a narrative. It's going to be paragraph form. But for record keeping, sometimes this kind of thing is easier. In general, the contextual factors should be a narrative. The general idea of the section is to begin with the big picture. Notice that the triangle there is very wide at the top. We're starting with the broad view, the whole community. We're looking then at the district, the school district, the school itself, the classroom within the school, and then the individual students. So we will be gathering a great deal of information about all of that, but notice that the idea here is to clearly identify the instructional implications for everything that you find around you. If you are able to do that, then you have completed the contextual factors section of the teacher work sample. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask your instructor. You will be you'll be receiving much more information about this in person from your instructor. But if you have any questions about whether something fits or does not fit, sometimes that's best answered by the person who is going to be grading it. So I would find that person were I you. And that is the end of the first section, contextual factors.